Welcome to Immigrant in Law's channel. If you are planning to move to Europe, whether it be Germany, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Poland, or another EU country, it is important to understand not only the benefits, but also the real challenges immigrants face once they have obtained citizenship. This video is in two parts. In the first part, we will look at the key challenges immigrants face after obtaining citizenship, and in the second part, we will talk about family adaptation, cultural differences, financial pitfalls, and ways to stay stable in a new country. This is probably the most obvious and at the same time the most underestimated barrier. Before moving, many people are sure, I'll explain myself somehow. There are translators and apps now. English will save me. But in practice, it turns out that not knowing the language hinders almost everywhere, from basic household tasks to integration into society. Real-life case. One of our clients who moved to Romania faced a situation when his child became ill during the night. He called an ambulance, but explaining the symptoms, giving the address, and understanding what the dispatcher was saying was really stressful. The only thing that saved him was that he had written down Romanian phrases in his phone and learned in advance how the emergency service worked. Even in the supermarket, language becomes a barrier. You can't ask a question about a product, understand why the cash register doesn't accept the card, or explain that you need a discount card. Gradually, this builds up a sense of social isolation and anxiety. People start to avoid socializing, which in turn inhibits adaptation. At work, the situation is no better. Even if you are employed in an international company, you will still have to interact with local colleagues, clients, suppliers, and government agencies. And here, if you don't understand business correspondence or can't speak confidently at a meeting, there is a barrier to career growth. Auditory adaptation is a separate problem. People speak quickly, with an accent, use localized expressions. Even if you learned the language from a textbook, everyday speech often seems completely different. Many people say that in the first months they literally didn't understand a word, even if they had an average level of knowledge. What helps? Language courses, face-to-face or online. Intensive, immersive courses are best. Some universities and migration centers offer free or discounted programs for new citizens. Individual lessons with a native speaker, especially effective for conversation practice. It takes away the fear of making mistakes and helps you speak confidently faster. Apps and online resources, Duolingo, Italki, Lingq, YouTube channels, all these give you the opportunity to learn at your own pace, but in a systematic way. Language immersion, watching local TV shows, listening to the radio, reading signs, making conversations with your neighbors. All this gradually makes the language part of your everyday life. Stock of standard phrases for each day. It is useful to have a list of 20-30 phrases for the store, pharmacy, doctor, taxi, housing, and utilities. It gives you a sense of control and confidence. Psychological moment. It is very important not to be afraid to speak with mistakes. It's natural. Everyone goes through this stage. People in Europe most often treat foreigners with understanding and try to help, even if you speak with an accent or confuse endings. The main thing is to try. The language barrier is a temporary obstacle. It requires effort, but with the right strategy, it can be overcome. And as soon as you start to understand and speak, the doors to society, the labor market, and a normal full life in a new country open up. You have obtained citizenship. You have formalized your documents. It seems that the hardest part is over. But after you move, you are faced with a new reality. Rules, procedures, authorities work completely differently than in your country of origin. Everything seems to have to be done all over again. Residence registration, tax number, health insurance, access to the social system, bank accounts, child benefits, employer notifications, all in a new legal system with unfamiliar terminology and often in a different language. For example, in some countries, to open a bank account, you may need not only a passport, but also proof of residency, proof of income, proof of tax status, and even a local phone number. Without an account, you can't receive a paycheck, rent a home, or pay for utilities online. The process of getting insurance can also take longer. In some countries, you have to wait to enroll in the system, submit separate applications, choose an insurance company, and in some cases pay premiums several months in advance before the system goes live. All of this is before you have access to free or discounted healthcare. Government offices operate on a strict schedule, often without electronic queues. Some close at 2 p.m., and some only accept appointments on one particular day a week. Online appointment is not available everywhere, and if you fail to submit your documents in time, you may face fines or even administrative problems. Another peculiarity is bureaucratic cross-checking. One body does not recognize the certificate of another, or it requires a stamp that is no longer in use. Some clients have shared that they had to reissue the same document 3 times because the format of the application changed. Solutions that work. Make a step-by-step plan. Before you move, study what actions are obligatory in the first month, what documents and certificates will be required. Make a table with deadlines and a list of institutions. This will help avoid chaos. Prepare copies of documents. It is better to make 10-15 sets of copies of passport, citizenship, translated diplomas, marriage, birth certificates. In many countries, without copies, documents will not be accepted. Get a power of attorney or an interpreter in advance if you are not sure of the language. In some cases, You will not be able to submit documents if you do not understand what you are signing, and you will simply be turned around. And in some countries, a sworn power of attorney is required for government offices. Join local groups and forums. Facebook groups, migrant forums, and local Telegram chats are especially useful. They discuss current changes in laws and real cases that are not always described on official websites. Do not hesitate to ask for legal support. One competent specialist can save you months of nerves, especially in matters of taxation, rent, entitlement to benefits, or business registration. It is important to understand, in EU countries, bureaucracy may be slow, but it is almost always formal and consistent. If you follow the rules, bring the right documents, you will get results. But you are required to be patient, accurate, and respect the system. Bureaucracy is not a trap, just a different logic of interaction. The sooner you accept it as part of life, the easier it will be for you to adapt. The main thing is to go step by step. Don't put off important processes, and don't be afraid to ask advice from those who have already traveled this path. By obtaining EU citizenship, you seem to open up a whole continent of opportunities. However, many immigrants face an unexpected problem. Citizenship is an admission to the labor market, but not a guarantee of a successful career. The reality is this: even in countries with a high demand for specialists, be it Germany, the Czech Republic, Romania, or Poland, employers are not only focused on legal status. They care about language skills, an adapted CV to local standards, work experience in the EU, references from local employers. Problem 1. Diplomas and qualifications. Doctors, teachers, engineers, lawyers, almost all professionals with regulated professions face the need to nostrify their diplomas. This is a separate procedure that can take from several months to a year. Without it, it is impossible to work officially in the profession. For example, our client, a teacher with 15 years of experience, after moving to Bulgaria, spent 6 months to have his diploma recognized and another 2 months for adaptation courses. Only then did he get access to the education system. Problem 2. The structure of resumes and interviews. Eastern and Western European employment culture is very different from other countries. Here, a clear, concise CV of 1-2 pages without unnecessary information is valued. Cover letters are often used. A LinkedIn profile and portfolio may be required, and interviews are held in several stages. First, HR, then a technical interview, then a team talk, or even a test task. Some employers expect the candidate to talk about himself or herself actively, to show initiative, which is not always usual for people who have grown up in a different cultural environment. Problem 3. Localized experience. Even if you have a solid background, employers may be wary if you haven't worked at a local company. The reason for this is simple. They don't know how you will behave in the local work culture, how you perceive hierarchy, deadlines, teamwork. Hence the vicious circle. Without experience, they won't hire you, and without a job, you have no experience. What helps overcome barriers? Adapt your CV to the country you have moved to. In Poland, for example, you can include a photo and gender. In Germany, on the contrary, it is not customary. In Romania, detailed descriptions of achievements with figures are valued, while in the Czech Republic, conciseness and systematization are valued. We recommend studying examples of resumes in your field on local job websites. Take a local course or internship. This could be a short online course on local standards, a certification, or even volunteering. All of these add local experience to your resume and help start a dialogue with an employer. Work on soft skills, communication, teamwork, ability to make a self-presentation. In many EU countries, these are valued above technical knowledge. One of our clients, an IT specialist, got a job not because of a strong portfolio, but because he excelled at the interview as a potential teammate. Utilize resources for new citizens. Some countries have free job training, help with resume translation, and career counseling. Don't be afraid to start at the bottom. Sometimes it's worth starting in a position just below your qualifications to fit in and get your first local experience. After 6 months to a year, many people return to their professional level or even move up, now with references and an understanding of the local market. Additional challenges for entrepreneurs. If you plan to open a business, prepare for a completely new system of taxation, registration, and accounting. It will be difficult without a local accountant or consultant. But the good news is that many countries offer tax breaks and startup grants for new citizens and small businesses. Adapting to the job market is a process that requires preparation, flexibility, and a willingness to learn new things. But if you approach it strategically, jobs are found, careers are built, and your professional value only grows. The key is not to wait for the perfect moment, but to start taking action. Many of the company's clients admit they were morally prepared for the bureaucracy and language difficulties, but they were not prepared for the feeling of loneliness. You find yourself in a new country where everything is unfamiliar, different people, different rhythm of life, different habits, different atmosphere. And even if you do everything right outwardly, you get a job, get your paperwork in order, go to the stores, there can be a growing feeling inside that you are a stranger. Why is this happening? Firstly, the usual social circle is uprooted. Friends, neighbors, relatives, colleagues, even casual acquaintances. Secondly, it is difficult to integrate into already established local communities, especially at a mature age. People already have their own social circles, common memories, language, and mentality. On the background of cultural and language barriers, insularity appears. You leave the house less and less often, avoid new contacts, feel tired of being misunderstood. This can lead to emotional burnout, anxiety, or even depression, especially if you have moved alone or are without family support. What helps overcome isolation? Finding your circle by interests. In every city, there are international communities, clubs, circles, language tandems. Even just a cooking course or a fitness group can be the beginning of communication. Don't wait to be called. Make the first step yourself. Participate in volunteering. It's a great way to get involved in the community, do something useful, and make connections at the same time. One of our clients in Poland volunteered at an animal shelter. Through this, he got to know the locals, made friends, and gained moral satisfaction. Platforms for meeting migrants, Meetup, Couchsurfing, Internations, Facebook groups. There are events for new residents, excursions, picnics, conversation clubs. It is an informal environment where it is easy to make first contacts, socializing with other immigrants. They are in the same situation, and that can be a real support. Heart-to-heart talk, sharing advice, just the feeling that you're not alone, incredibly important in the first few months. Psychological support. Many countries have free counseling for new citizens. Don't be afraid to apply. It is normal to feel confused or empty during the adjustment period. It is very important not to take distance as a personal rejection. In Europe, the culture is more closed. People are less likely to make spontaneous acquaintances. They don't show emotions openly. But once you fit in, the relationship becomes very secure. It's just a process that takes time and patience. Social isolation is not a sentence. It's a temporary phase that can and should be overcome consciously. Don't shut yourself off. Socialize, learn, get involved. The more active you are, the faster you will feel at home in your new country. And a sense of belonging is the real adaptation. These first steps of adaptation are the most difficult, but also the most important. Language barriers, bureaucracy, difficulties at work, and loneliness are all real challenges that almost everyone who decides to move faces. But the good news is that they are all surmountable. The main thing is not to be afraid to ask for help, to plan your steps, and not to lose your inner motivation. In the next video, we will continue to look at important topics that await immigrants after moving: family adaptation, cultural differences, financial surprises, and how to go through this journey calmly and confidently. If you have any questions or would like to discuss your path to citizenship and adaptation, leave a request for a free consultation with immigrant-in-law lawyers. We will find the best relocation strategy for you, prepare all the necessary documents, explain the nuances of the law in detail, and answer all your questions. Want to learn more or start the process right away? Contact us. All contacts are listed in the description below this video. We are here to help you take a confident step towards a new life. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ask your questions in the comments. I will be happy to answer them. Discover a world of opportunities with Immigrant-in-Law.